Are you planning for your retirement? Okay, I've got two gentlemen who are going to help us talk about that. I have Chairman Wycliffe Ongamati, who is the chairman of PSSF, or Wycliffe Ongamati, joining me in studio. Chairman, welcome.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Karibu sana.
It's a big honor to be here.
Asante. And Dr. Jonah Ayebe, who is the CEO of PSSF, also joining me in studio. Daktari, karibu.
Thank you, Victor. Delighted to be here.
Asante. Let me start with you, Chair. And on a high note, it's the third year, and you are planning to have that conference tomorrow. Tell me more about it.
Thank you very much, Victor, and it's a very, very big honor for us to be here.
Yeah.
I think we're having our third annual general meeting. PSSF is a fund that gathers for retirement benefits for public servants.
Yes.
And when you talk about public servants, you're talking about the teachers, you're talking about the uniformed guys, you're talking about the typical civil servants in different ministries, and that is what PSSF is all about. And PSSF was formed by an act of parliament way back in 2012. However, the implementation of that act of parliament happened in 2021. So this scheme started operating in 2021. So this is our third annual general meeting of members. And because we are also regulated by the Retirement Benefits Authority, the Retirement Benefits Authority requires that on an annual basis, you must have an annual general meeting.
Yes.
To tell members.
Take stock of what happened.
Take stock of what happened last year. Tell members about their benefits, what they have accrued, and basically give them an idea of how the investments are happening.
Yeah.
So that is what we are doing tomorrow at that annual general meeting of PSSF.
Venue and time?
The venue will be at KICC. We expect people to be there by 8 a.m. The chief guest is the Cabinet Secretary Treasury, Mbadi, whom we expect to be there by around 8:30. And then, of course, we have also other dignitaries. We have the Cabinet Secretary Public Service, the former Speaker, Muturi, will also be in attendance. We also have the Cabinet Secretary in charge of cooperatives, a very good friend of mine, Oparanya, will also be in attendance. So we expect that the whole thing will start at 9. Dignitaries, VIPs will probably be there by about 8:30. We expect most of the members, ourselves, and the trustees and the staff and members of the scheme to be there by about 8 a.m. at KICC. At KICC Center.
Okay. So, Dr. The chair has talked about the mandate. Let's talk about the membership and the structure of PSSF. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Victor. Just like the chairman did mention, Public Service Superannuation Scheme is a membership fund where we drew our members from the teachers employed by Teacher Service Commission. And we also have, as he said, the National Police Service employees, the Kenya Prisons employees, and NYS. Now, from commencement in the year 2021, we now have membership of about 443,000 members, and the number is growing. Anytime a new employee is recruited in public service, that automatically becomes a member, so long as they are joining on permanent and pensionable terms. Anytime a new teacher is recruited, we also increase our membership. And it goes on like that. So that is the structure of our membership. We have a big membership population, and the numbers keep on growing. And each of the member of this scheme makes a contribution to the fund. And they do a monthly contribution from their pensionable emoluments. At the same time, the government, who is the sponsor of this scheme, makes a contribution. So this nature of the scheme that we are running, Victor, is of the nature that we call the defined contribution scheme. So defined contribution scheme because the contribution rates are defined. They're actually predetermined in advance. So really the current rates that are applicable is 7.5% for the employee contribution, and the sponsor, which in this case is the government, contributes 15%, making a total of around 22.5% of pensionable emoluments that comes to the fund on a monthly basis for the 443,000 or thereabouts membership. So that's how the structure is operating, and we pick these funds, invest them give them a return, which we'll be mentioning what we're going to declare tomorrow. And once we declare the return, we grade it to the membership accounts. So we maintain accounts of each and every member so that we are able to track their contributions and the employee contributions, the employer's contribution, and eventually we give credit in terms of interest declared as per policy, and eventually it works towards paying for their retirement benefits.
400,000 plus membership, that is a huge number.
Yes,
so
sir.
What role does it play in the retirement benefits? I mean, it's a very big industry, so to speak.
Yes. One of the critical things in any economic development is adequate provision of social security of the population. So we play a fundamental role in widening the coverage of people who are provided with social protection and social security.
Yes.
So that's from the global perspective. So the key element for every organization is to see how many people are actually covered by the social security provision. So we feel in that space, and it's a very interesting thing because when people are in service, they are used to earning a monthly pay. But upon retirement, it can create a shock.
Yeah.
So this now becomes a transition, and even it actually gives them a quality of life post-active service, because they're able to get the same or more or less replacement income that can sustain or bring closer to the standard of living that they had while they were in service.
Yeah.
So that's the key thing why we really have to focus on this investment and touching the economy in terms of, beyond even that, we are mobilizing resources which can be invested again in Kenya as we wait to pay out.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've talked about that. I just asked my guest who just left the studio whether he's planning to retire. And he said he's still young to retire.
Yes.
That would really be something to admire. But then, Chair, would you please just highlight some of the achievements that PSSF is actually making, or what it's impacting to the members or the public servants?
I think Victor, it's important to understand the background of why PSSF was set up. If you know very well, Victor, in this country, pension for civil servants has been a very big problem. I'm sure, I don't know what your background is, but if you have a parent who has been a civil servant and retired,
Of course, yes.
they struggle.
A strict one for that matter.
So Victor,
Yes.
what has been happening over the last 40, 50, 60 years since inception of the government is that at any time the government has never put money aside for payment of pension benefits for retirees who have been civil servants in this country. And what the government has been doing is that they budget, the normal budget,
Yes.
put money in the budget and say this year the number of guys who have retired are X number. The pensions that we need to pay to these guys is about 100 billion Kenya shillings. Put 100 billion Kenya shillings in that budget for that financial year, then pay people. So as you retire, there is no money that has been put aside for you in respect of your benefits. And that has been happening since then. So then the government, I think when you look back, then I think it was Kibaki's government, then took a decision and said, look, we can't continue like this. We must come up with a fund to start putting aside money so that you, when you retire, Victor, there is money somewhere that you can come in and quickly you're paid. And that's what happened. And that's why now then they passed an act in 2012. And that act has then been now implemented in 2021.
Yeah.
Starting 2021, as John has mentioned, is where now we started putting aside 7.5% contributions on employees. They were not doing anything before that. The employer, which is the government, now putting aside 15% consistently since 2021. Now building a fund so that when these members come to retirement, they can then have their benefits. Today, if a member of PSSF retires or leaves service, it will take us, John, about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because
That's
the money is there.
turnaround.
Yes, 2 weeks.
Yes.
Then they'll be paid. But we have not been having the same sort of level of efficiency when it comes to the back years when we didn't have a fund. So fundamentally, that is why this scheme was set up. And that is why we are saying that the government of Kibaki at that time, passing that act, was a noble idea. Secondly, the government of Uhuru implementing this in 2021 was a noble idea. And that is why this fund was set up. And just to add to what John has mentioned, this fund has huge benefits. Apart from just the retirement benefits, today if somebody passes on in service, they will be, the dependents will be entitled to benefits. When somebody passes in retirement, the dependents will be entitled to pension. So there are all these benefits that come along. But more fundamentally,
are benefits automatic?
Yes,
membership.
Yes, to membership, yes, because the Act specifies, the regulations specify the level of benefits for the member. It also specifies the level of benefits for the dependents. So it's very clear.
Yeah.
But that aside as well, just to add to what John has mentioned, Victor, this scheme is raising the level of saving in this country. You know, we're not very good, Victor. Even today, if I ask you today, how much are you saving for your retirement? Yes, you asked a guest here, but if I come back and ask you the same question, you'll struggle, Victor. And I think it is important as a country, we appreciate that any country that has moved on and become a middle-class economy, the level of saving is very important. Just to give you in percentage terms, in Kenya, the level of savings is about 6%. That 6% as a percentage of the GDP of this country. But when you look at Europe, or you look at Malaysia, or you look at even South Africa, the level of savings is about 20 to 25%. So we are aware of. This fund is also helping us raise that level of saving as a country. We are pulling resources together. You get this money. Yes, it's being invested, but it's also having a direct impact on the economy, because this money is being either lent to government to do its projects, it's being used to buy into companies who want to expand. So it's having a huge impact, and that's why we are saying it is important that we raise our level of saving.
All right. I'll come back to the issue of contribution. You talked of 7.5% and 15%. That brings around 22. Can a member contribute more, even if you wish, or less? To play around with the figures. But before that, how have you performed financially? Because it's one of the biggest issues in any organization. Because members would want to know, how are they performing over the years?
Okay, thank you very much, Victor. I know Chairman did mention that tomorrow is the day of accountability and report to our members in terms of the annual general meeting. And one of the things that we'll be sharing with them is the performance. So it's very critical that you have actually asked the same. The scheme has performed pretty well. One of the key parameters that we measure in terms of performance is that, are we able to collect the contributions as prescribed by the law? Are we able to get the contributions from government? And the answer is yes. For the entire financial year, we have received what government had pledged to give, which is a very, very exciting thing. I mean, we receive contributions from the sponsor, the National Treasury, for the employer's portion, and we do not have a challenge on the same. The second thing is that members have been very kind to give their contributions again. Regularly, the 7%. The 7.5% has also been coming on time, and the 15%. So when all this is put together, the Board of Trustees, under the guidance of the Board of Trustees and our investment managers, we have invested these funds. And Victor, the good news is that by the close of the year of 2023-2024, that is 30th June, the return that we are going to declare to credit to members' accounts tomorrow is 11.9%, which is fairly well, because we have done a diversification. And this money, let me just put it this way, it's not like a dividend that we'll send M-Pesa to members, but we'll credit to their accounts because it will work towards improving their retirement package. So that's how the performance has been. Yes.
You talked the National Treasury, and you know, as it's like Siamese twins. You cannot separate the two.
Correct.
So how is the fund, the scheme actually, PSF, also contributing to the national agenda in terms of development?
Very well. I will add to what Chairman did mention. One of the key things for any development is mobilization of savings. So where to begin with is, we are a catalyst to mobilizing the required savings for investments in this economy. So when you can imagine the 22.5% for over 443,000 membership, when that is put together, we do participation in the capital markets of this nation, so it catalyzes the investable capital.
Yeah.
It becomes a source of the highly needed capital for investments, whether in the property sector, whether in the equity markets. So we are able to catalyze the investments that are actually taking place in this country. And in the same sense, the more you do more investments, it creates opportunities of employment, it creates taxable levels. So we contribute indirectly to the fiscal requirements of government. We also contribute directly to creating employment as we do these investments.
All right.
Yes.
Chair, in the beginning there was word. And word is everything in the beginning. So how do you engage your members, apart from having annual general meetings, to actually get to understand what development is happening, the feedback, and how you can actually even develop the scheme further? What mechanism do you use?
Victor, very, very, very important. And one of the things that, I was appointed chair, I think June this year.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we sat down with John and agreed that we must enhance what we call member education.
Member education.
Member education, so that people can understand what is the need for them, how we are running the scheme, the performance of the scheme, and there are a number of things. One is that even recently we had a member education exercise across the country where we are visiting regions, and I think we had divided the country into sort of the old provinces and walked around meeting members and explaining. The second, of course, is that there's a lot of information online. And, of course, with this evolution of IT, there's a lot of information online. Members can go online, check their benefit statements, check what the contributions they have made, check the contributions that the government has made on their behalf, check the interest that we have credited over time, and basically understand today that as at now, say as at end of 2024, this is what I've contributed, this is what the sponsors contributed, this is the interest that has been credited. So there's a lot of information online, and we want to enhance that. And then of course we also have a lot of webinars talking to members about what is happening. So yeah, a lot of forums to educate, and maybe Jonah can add on it.
Yeah. And even as you respond to that, what's the feedback like? What is the response?
The most important thing, Victor, is if you are doing an investment, you need to know what is going on in it. And I cannot overemphasize what Chairman has actually mentioned, because it is the right for members to understand their scheme. And what we have actually decided to do is to use so many channels, including the social media. We are always in matters like YouTube. We are actually in Facebook, and we receive feedback. We post the developments in the scheme, and members have a right to ask questions. And we have a dedicated team from our office that responds to all those queries.
Okay.
So communication can only be complete when we give the feedback. So we have, other than the physical meetings that we met members in the regions, we also leverage on technology, we leverage on the social media systems, and part of what we're even doing this morning is part of sensitization of the bigger population of members. It is true that we may not bring all the 443,000 members in one room, but we're able to reach them through where they are. So we partner with employers like the Teacher Service Commission. In their newsletter magazines that they run, you will find that we are present at that point, and we're able to tell members what they're doing. When they understand their role or the benefits that they have in the scheme, it actually motivates, it actually gives them the strength to continue serving as a public servant even better.
Okay. See, the issue of trust is very important.
Yes.
And I know members are now watching.
Yes.
How do you ensure accountability and transparency, set by RBA?
Absolutely. We are in a very highly regulated environment, and beyond even the regulations. Remember, we are the governors, the head of the governors in our system are trustees. So the word trust is even embedded in terms of the nature of governance that we have. And for you to be a trustee, they have what we call in technical terms fiduciary responsibility. Somebody who can really think of taking care of another person's asset better than their own. So we are run by a board of trustees, not a board of directors. I'm not saying the board of directors are at a lower level, but the trusteeship, you are expected to be at a higher level of calling than even the directorship. So we have embedded this. It's a board of trustees. So everybody is expected to perform their duties and fiduciary responsibility to the benefit of the members. So that is what we have invested in. And so far with the team that we have at the Board of Trustees, I am not almost to see anything that can breach that trust. We have actually built the trust to the members, and we are coming with accountability. Like tomorrow when we'll be accounting about what we have done, it is an open system.
Great.
It is the members' funds.
Trust is very important.
Yes, very
Chair,
important.
What's the future like for this scheme?
No, the future is very, very bright for PSSF. Before even I talk about the future, it's important to appreciate that as we speak now, the total assets of the pension industry in this country is about 2 trillion Kenya shillings. PSSF is at about 150, 160 billion Kenya shillings as we speak over just the last 3 years. We are the second largest scheme in the country after NSSF. Now, looking at the way this scheme is progressing, I see it that it will be the biggest scheme in the country in the next couple of years, maybe 5, 6 years. It will be one of the biggest schemes in the country. So the future is very, very positive in the sense that it's helping members to mobilize resources and savings for their retirement. And it is likely to be the biggest, so it will contribute very strongly to the GDP of this country, contribute very strongly to creation of employment and have a real economic impact. So the future is very positive. Thirdly, just to add to what Jonah said, the governance framework that we have in this country for pension fund schemes is very rigorous. Highly regulated. We have a regulator in place called RBA. Then you have service providers. So today, as trustees, I as the chair, we don't handle money. The money is held by the banks. You have investment advisors who advise the trustees on where to put money. You have custodians who hold the money, the physical money.
So it is safe.
It is safe.
Members, your money is safe.
It is important that we say that it is safe, because today you have trustees sitting there. Then you have Jonah, who is sort of like the secretariat helping us. But this money, when it comes in, like now, when the government or when members pay those contributions, they go direct to the bank, to the custodian. That custodian will only release money based on the advice of the fund manager, who also doesn't control the money. He only gives advice, and then we make that decisions to then now move that money wherever it sits. So the governance framework of pension fund schemes, and I want to say this without any fear of contradiction, Victor, I don't think there's a sector in this country that is very well regulated as the pension industry.
Does it mean that you deal with the civil servants?
Sorry?
Does it mean because you deal with the civil servants?
No, it's the entire industry. It's the entire industry, Victor. There is no, in my own view, and Victor, when you see me as a former governor. But now I'm talking as an actuary, because I've been in this industry. There is no industry in this country that I do believe, maybe banking sector to some extent, but there's no industry that is very well regulated as the pension industry in this country. So the governance framework is very solid. So just to add to what you asked John, but coming back to your question of the future of this fund, very bright. We can see, and we must say thank you to government, because government has consistently contributed. People can say, government will not contribute, but over the last 3 years, we have not had NRS. Government has consistently contributed to the enhancement of members' benefit.
Thank you. See you in under 10 seconds. What should you expect tomorrow?
Very interesting members and viewers. Tomorrow will be a great day. It's a time of accountability. It's a time when the Board of Trustees will be reporting to members. We expect members who will be joining online or physically to participate. And the way of participating is to ask questions, seek clarification about their scheme, and also it is an opportunity that we can be able to give suggestions in terms of what we can do going forward for this scheme. So it is a very, very great day in the calendar of our pension fund that we'll be able to meet with members, and we look forward to having all of you joining through any means, either virtually or coming physically to KICC, amphitheater, of course, beginning at 9, as Chairman did mention.
Great.
Yes.
CEO Jonah Ayebe, who is the CEO of the Public Service Superannuation Fund, and Honorable Wycliffe Ongamati, who is the chairman of the same fund, joining me in studio. Members, make sure that you be there tomorrow and have your voice heard. If you're a member, make sure that you be there at KICC starting 8 a.m. Be there and get seated. All right, that's where we wrap it up on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Victor Lo. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.